Humanity has always been obsessed with bending nature to our will, right? We want to cross the uncrossable rivers, tunnel through impossible mountains, and connect the most isolated places. Well, today, we're going to dive into that story on a scale that's almost hard to wrap your head around. We're looking at how China has literally rewired its own geography with some of the most mind-blowing mega projects in human history. So, to really get a feel for the impact of all this, let's start right here, with a man about to literally fly off a bridge. Now, this isn't just some crazy extreme sport. It's proof of what's now possible. The bridge he's on is over 400 meters high. And just 10 years ago, crossing this valley meant an entire day of hiking down one side and all the way back up the other. Today, it's a launch pad.
And get this, that incredible bridge is just one of over 1 million. Nope, that's not a typo. In just a few decades, China has built more than 1 million bridges. They've turned these massive natural chasms that kept communities apart for centuries into simple roads you can zip across in a few minutes. The scale of it's just staggering.
So, how on earth did they pull this off? Well, here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the why, China's kind of impossible geography. Then we'll see how they conquered rivers, mountains, and even the sea. We'll get into the nitty-gritty of the tech that made it happen, see the massive impact of connecting a nation, and finally, we'll look at the next big challenge on the horizon.
All right, let's dive right in. First up, you have to understand the problem they were facing. We're talking about some seriously impossible geography. For centuries, these natural barriers weren't just an inconvenience. They literally defined life itself.
I mean, the obstacles were just huge. You had these deep, U-shaped valleys where seeing the other side was easy, but getting there was an all-day ordeal. Then you've got the mighty Yangtze River, this absolute beast that literally sliced the country in two. And out west, the mountains are so massive and complex that building any kind of direct route seemed like pure fantasy.
So where do you even begin? Well, you go after the biggest problem first, that massive river splitting the country in half. Taming the great rivers, that was the first major step, and it kicked off a complete engineering revolution.
And the change this brought was just life-altering. Take someone like 85-year-old Bren Fan. For most of his life, getting across the Yangtze was a 2-hour ferry ride, and that's if the weather was good. Now, that same trip takes just a few minutes. It completely rewired the economic connection between the North and South.
And the progress was just exponential. I mean, in the 1950s, it was ferries or nothing. Then, in 1957, they built the first bridge, but they needed Soviet help. The real turning point, though, came just a decade later, when they started building them all on their own. And today, there are over 160 bridges carrying 18 billion trips a year. That number's just hard to fathom.
Okay, so they've conquered the rivers. What's next? You guessed it, they went even bigger. Their ambition just exploded. The new targets were entire mountain ranges and the open sea itself. And if you want to talk ambition, just look at this monster, the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge. It's the world's longest sea bridge. It uses over 500,000 tons of steel to turn a 4-hour drive into a 30-minute commute. But here's the wildest part. It's so close to Hong Kong's airport that they couldn't build tall bridge towers. So their solution was to just build a 6.2-kilometer-long tunnel under the sea right in the middle of it.
And you can imagine the pressure was just off the charts. The director of that tunnel project, Ling Ming, basically called it an incredibly risky proposition. I mean, think about sinking these sections that weigh 76,000 tons each down to the seabed with perfect precision. One little mistake, and the whole thing is a catastrophe.
So all of this just makes you wonder, how in the world is any of this even possible? Well, the answer, the secret sauce, is some truly revolutionary construction technology.
A huge piece of the puzzle is what they call the block building technique. So instead of building slowly, piece by piece, out in the elements, they pre-build enormous sections in a factory with incredible precision. And the result? It's way faster, much more accurate, and a whole lot safer. It's like building with giant high-tech Legos.
And when I say giant, I mean it. A single one of these sections can weigh half as much as the entire Eiffel Tower. They move it around on these wild vehicles with 128 wheels, lift it with massive floating cranes, and then place it on the bridge with an accuracy of just 2 centimeters. 2 centimeters, that is absolutely incredible precision. Now, building over things is one thing, but what about going through them? Well, that's where the other hero of this story comes in, the tunnel boring machine,
or TBM.
And you gotta understand, these things aren't just drills. They're basically mobile factories. They're like giant mechanical earthworms that excavate the rock, reinforce the tunnel, and finish the whole thing as they move forward. To give you a sense of scale, one of the TBMs used to dig under the Yangtze was over 15 meters in diameter. That's as tall as a 5-story building, just chewing its way through the earth.
So you take all of this insane engineering, you put it all together, and what do you get? You get a nation that is completely and totally connected, where the old rules of time and distance, well, they just don't apply anymore.
The numbers are just stunning. In just 30 years, China built the largest expressway network in the entire world, creating a brand new circulatory system for its economy and people. But if you think that's wild, check out the high-speed rail. In 2008, they had 0 kilometers. None. Just 8 years later, they had 20,000 kilometers of track. Let me say that again. In just 8 years, they built 60% of all the high-speed rail on planet Earth. That is just unbelievably fast.
And this is why it all matters, right? The human impact. This network has effectively shrunk the country. It's connected people to jobs, goods to markets, and previously isolated villages to the entire world. It's created this rush of new opportunities and fundamentally changed daily life for hundreds of millions of people.
But here's the catch. Building it all is only half the story. The next great challenge, the one that never ends, is keeping this mega network up and running.
And this maintenance mission is relentless. I'm talking rail workers who have just a 4-hour window every single night to do essential, dangerous checks. The bridges are covered in hundreds of sensors, like digital watchdogs, sending data back 24/7. They're even testing robots to inspect the crucial cables. And all the while, engineers are fighting a constant battle against overloaded trucks that threaten to destroy the very structures they built.
So you see, that constant headache for the engineers has totally shifted. It's no longer about the impossible challenge of construction. Now, it's the relentless day-in, day-out pressure of keeping these vital arteries operating safely.
Which leaves us with this final massive question. With over 1 million bridges built and this incredible network in place, has the fundamental challenge completely changed? Is the real mega project of our time no longer the act of building, but the infinite, never-ending task of maintaining it all, forever?